My name is Dean Page, and I'm a certified life coach. I help my clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. I've also had the opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. People who have had unique careers, built up businesses, and triumphed through adversity. So one day it dawned on me, why not put the two together? Why not start a show where people can tell their stories of building success and rebuilding from adversity, with the intent purpose to encourage, inspire, and inform others who are working on their goals to fulfill their dreams. Now, if I only knew what to call it. Maybe I should make a list. Wait, that's it. The Dean's List. Kinda has a nice ring to it. So I hope you join my guests and I on this upcoming episode of The Dean's List. What do the names Kofi Kingston, Ivar the Viking Raiders, Tommaso Ciampa, and Josh Briggs all have in common? Well, besides being elite sports entertainment superstars, they all give homage to the importance of mastering the fundamentals early in their training, and more specifically, that of their trainer, Mike Coach Hollow. Initially trained by WWE Hall of Famer Walter Killer Kowalski, Mike discovered that he had the ability to teach and to bring out the best in others, and that's what he started to do at Kowalski School, and he continues to do so even today. If you're a pro wrestling fan or someone who's thinking of a career in pro wrestling, Coach Mike Hollow is someone you should definitely have a conversation with. If you're not a fan of pro wrestling per se, but you're looking for tips and ideas on how to stand out from your competition, whether it be in business, arts, or science, if you're wondering how to be more confident or how to excel in your chosen field, then Mike's lessons and insights are for you as well. After all, several times in the podcast, he says he's training his students to be professional wrestlers both inside and outside the ring. I hope you join us today for this very insightful conversation. And oh yeah, there's some really cool Killer Kowalski stories in there too. Hello, Mike. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Dean. How's everything in your world today?
It's busy, as I'm sure yours is. I appreciate you spending the time to do this. Um, so obviously, you've got quite a history, so we want to be able to go through all that. But I wanted to ask you in particular about you have a group called Hollow Stable, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, the interesting thing about Hollow Stable, for many years I was doing, training. And, at certain times I'd have 15, 20 people in a group. And sometimes that could be difficult. And for a guy like me that really likes to get into the weeds of the nuances of with what we're trying to teach on a particular night, sometimes I felt that it just I wasn't accomplishing that the way that I should be. So I had actually taken a little hiatus from teaching professional wrestling, and um, through my old business partner, decided to get back in again. And it just with where Hollow Stables was just a small group of students, anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6, and it just kind of evolved and allowed me to kind of really pay that close special attention to students and with what they were looking for and with what I was able to pay attention to and really kind of dial in and put he or she in the right direction of correcting some of the nuances that needed to be addressed both in and out of the ring.
So compared to like I don't want to say, I don't know if I want to say normal wrestling school, but say like somebody who just starts out, is the Hollow Studios more if they're ready to go to the next levels? Is that a good way for me to put it, or am I understanding you correct?
um Basically I think it's for an individual, both he or she, if they were at a school and They wanted to visit Hollow Stables with where they needed like a golf pro, where they needed some one-on-one attention to be able to kind of dissect, some of the small things that need to be looked at or that may be being overlooked, or just being able to spend quality time from an explanation standpoint and breaking things down in a manner where it's more so individualized, with where you don't have to, there's 15, 20 people in a class, and it's next guy in, next guy out. And it just allowed me to really kind of get a better sense of either, and from a learning standpoint as well, to kind of help a student, turn that page from a development standpoint to point them in the right direction. I mean, let's face it, there's just so much to know from the world of professional wrestling, both in and out of the ring. And, it takes time and work.
That's a good way to put it. It sounds like the best of both worlds then. I mean, at one point you're getting the group dynamic and being able to learn all together. And then it sounds like you can, with Hollow Stable, get more specific on that.
Yeah, I think that's, you hit the nail on the head. There's, you look at pro athletes today, and I'll use Tom Brady as an example, as great as he was. He had a quarterback coach, or Tiger Woods, and they're looking at mechanics, just different things. And I think for me, it just, again, allowed me to look at those smaller pieces of the puzzle, because let's face it, that's, what creates levels of separation from, an indie guy to a pro, or for both he or she, with where they're just, doing those things fundamentally well, with where they're standing out for the right reasons, opposed to, having those fundamental glares with where, there's something wrong there mechanically or mindset, or being able to put things in the right piece of the puzzle at the right time.
It's interesting. You know, it's funny, you mentioned fundamentals a lot, but you also, which I want to get back into, especially the life coach in me kind of jumps in on the part about the both inside the ring and outside the ring, because I know a lot of people probably just think, just as long as I can do all the moves and I'm good.
Yeah.
Probably, you're probably good. Yeah. 20 minutes or 30 minutes out of life versus the other hour. So that would be good. So, two separate things. And now you're also, right, I know you got quite a fascinating history, but like currently right now you're teaching at a school besides Hollow Stable. Like that's a separate thing. But what school are you teaching at now?
I'm teaching and working with, first I'm at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, which is in Concord, New Hampshire. The facility itself is unbelievable, 6,000 square feet, couple rings, a full gym, you name it, we have it. So that's been exciting. I've been up there for about a year and a half, and I think things are going well for us and producing some good talent.
Mm-hmm. It is. I admit, I knew the answer to that one. I got to, I came down there and we took some pictures and that stuff, and you graciously invited me to stay and watch some, and I loved it. Again, I have, had a martial arts background where I used to train. Different deal. Right. We weren't getting body slammed, but still, I could see it from different ends, and I was impressed on something. While you had, with the group I saw, you had them doing warm-ups and doing some very basic drills warming up. And yet it seemed like you were critiquing every single one of even though they were the basic.
Yeah. For me, and I think probably with what separates me from a lot of trainers, is it's the little things that help us, helps us get to the next level. So again, it's like one of those things with where I don't want to put the roof on the house first. I really want to pour a solid foundation for, all of our students. And I say that both, inside the ring and outside the ring, and, because we are in a business. And I've often said I've wanted all of them to get noticed for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. And a lot of times things that can be overlooked, and that can be a decision with where someone's not going to get an opportunity. So I know I tend to harp on that stuff a lot, but again, with what's been shared with me over the years, it's those things that make the difference of with where it creates quality. And we're in a business where, the independents, if you think about it, has forced WWE to go in a different direction from a business standpoint of looking for talent. And I think it's important for all of us that when we have aspiring students, that want to get to the next level, let's make it with where they can't say no. And that's kind of my approach to the students that I have now is that when they have an opportunity to view, look at, scout, it's that there's something about that talent with where there's something there, and they've been taught right, and they've been able to grasp with what we've been trying to put across to ultimately put them in a better position, um, on both sides, inside and outside the ring.
So let's just say, just if somebody's watching now and they're thinking, I really want to be a pro wrestler. So here's, I do, if it was me and if I was maybe a foot taller and about a few decades younger, but and about 100 pounds, you got the idea. So what's the best thing for, like, if somebody wants to do it? Should I figure out, oh, I got to come up with a character. I have to look like Hulk Hogan. I have to, be as athletic as such and such. I have to do this. I have to have it all together. And I come and I show you, or what's the best way to come in from day one and be ready to be successful long term?
I think the biggest thing is one, you've got to be honest with yourself and realistic with what you want to do. Two is to come in and just watch and see with what it's like and with what we're doing, and with what you're going to have to endure to survive a practice session in a good way, and finally at some point, if things are going well, to have an opportunity to have a match. So again, it's just starting from square one, and just and being coachable. I think that's the other part, right? It's just, with what you see on TV, all those guys and girls that you see on TV started in a place like an Elite or Kowalski's or CTC. And, what are you willing to sacrifice to put in to get to that next level? Because it's something with where I use the analogy, when I went to Killer Kowalski's, I had to climb those set of stairs, and I wasn't going to become a wrestling coach overnight. It was trials and tribulations of, failure and success, and how bad do you want it, and how often are you willing to hear no and continue to with where you want to come back for more, because, it's, you can't be stopped.
As a kid, seeing or seeing videos of, and Killer Kowalski and the different matches and stuff, I remember, or actually I might not have been a kid, but I was afraid of him on TV.
Well,
and there was a living room. I mean,
yeah, for me, it was interesting. I remember the first time 170 Pleasant Street over in Malden, Mass. And I climbed those stairs to his facility for the first time. And I was scared, intimidated. Here it is, and I opened the door, and here's this ominous figure, Walter Killer Kowalski. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. And he was old school, and he had a way about him, and it was rough. It was, he was old school, and either you survived, and if you didn't, he was on to the next person. But and the funny thing, or the interesting thing is once you got past that exterior, he used to, and you'll laugh when I say this to you, he wanted to, the biggest heel in the wrestling business, he wanted to be known as an angel. Go figure. That's the truth. But he was very kind.
Actually, that makes sense. Huh?
Yeah, he was very kind. I mean, he was a huge villain for 20 plus years. But if you got to meet him or know him like I did, he was a completely and just a marvelous person.
But that almost sounds like I can see both parts together, because one of it is he's going to protect the business, especially in the kayfabe world, and probably even now you don't want people coming in who aren't going to be serious, and more to the point, people who may injure other people.
Right. And there's a level.
So then once you knows. It sounds like once he knew you were legit and had the stuff, then he would work with you.
Yeah, there was a level of respect. I mean, let's face it. Whether it was Walter or Scott or I mean, there's a lot of people that come through the door and say they want to do this and want to do that, and it's like, okay, I look over and say, "Geez, where's so and so? I haven't seen him in 4 weeks. Their star has faded."
You have the dream, desire, talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. What about overcoming the challenges, setbacks, or injuries that are a risk to your incredible potential? I can help you with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.
Hey everyone, it's Ivar of the Viking Raiders, WWE Superstar, and I wanted to talk today about my former trainer, Mike Hollow. I'm very fortunate. I've been in the business for 22 plus years, and the amount of time I was able to spend with Mike and learn the fundamentals from him, making them all become second nature. There's no one better in the industry at teaching those basics and fundamentals and footwork and timing than Mike Hollow. And I think that's what you hear most in most testimonials about Mike are all those little things that he's so good at. But what's not mentioned a lot is how he prepares you not only for the mental aspect of wrestling, but for life in general. Mike has been able to teach so much to so many about how to navigate the world, not just the world of professional wrestling, but the world in general, and all the things that life throws at you, and how to carry yourself as a human being and as a professional. And he's given me life skills that work outside of professional wrestling, but also very much deep in the world of professional wrestling. I can definitely say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if I didn't get the mental training that Mike gave me, along with the physical, but the mental, I wouldn't have been able to handle these 22 plus years in the wrestling industry. There's so much that he brings to the table, and in my opinion, no one better.
Yeah, I gotta admit I was impressed. And we'll put in the video, your commercial in here too. But the elite commercial that you did that starts off with the multiple body slams, and the multiple bumps and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was great because, well, that's real. This is what it is. It's not a, oh yeah, you can be the next AJ Styles as long as you have good hair.
Right.
Come on in and it'll, everything will be fine. And that's not a shot at AJ. I love him. But,
no, the reality is it's a tremendous amount of work, physically and mentally. And, and I often say this, and I don't say it in a disparaging way. It's not for everybody. And it's hard because there's just so much to know and being able to put together. And, and if you're not committed, it's just, unfortunately, it's not going to work because it's like, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's difficult.
Oh, you're being real.
Yeah. Being honest. And there's a lot of work that goes into with what we do. And the average person, and what sticks out with me is that once they get in there and they realize that being able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and have it flow eloquently, and being able to tell a story without verbally communicating, and understanding all the dynamic and nuances, it's like I never realized that it was this hard.
I noticed even that little bit of the training that I got to watch, besides the fact that you were critiquing details, even while they're just doing warm-ups, if you will, there seemed, even in the little bit that I saw, a very concentrated effort on safety. I mean, you're taking the bumps, but you're taking the bumps right.
Yeah.
So I guess as a parent who had a son who, for a while, and we'll get into that later, actually went to WFA for training initially, which is kind of a cool story. But what would you say to parents as far as going, boy, my kid, he wants to be a wrestler and whatever. I'm concerned, you know,
Um,
and again, addressing their concerns.
well, I think the important piece there is that I would encourage parents if they had children that wanted, not, I don't want to say children, but young adults, 17, 18, um, is to come watch. Because I take it very seriously with where, I'm responsible for making sure that they come in and they leave in the same fashion as they came in. And, we're trusting each other to take care of our bodies. And if someone's picking me up, I want to make sure that they're putting me down properly. And so again, it's just focusing on those little things that we're doing those things right, because things can happen ever so quickly. And I'm knocking on wood confidently is that we've got a hell of a track record with where safety has always been paramount. And again, it's a huge responsibility, and it's something that I think that we do well, and our students are in a good place for that type of mindset, because they're going to be looked after. And I think that's part of running a professional school, is that we actually truly care with what happens to you both in and out of the ring with when you're under our watch.
Wow, that's really interesting. Because if you really think about it, you're right. I am depending, or one person is really depending on the other one,
Yeah.
to make sure that, it's not just I just got myself, it's not a football player who just has to make sure the guy's blocking is all right. You're actually like coordinating and working with another partner. So I could see that. You got that balance of having to, you want people who are aggressive and want to learn, but also, hey guys, it's a group.
Yeah. It's if someone's giving you their body, it's your professional responsibility is to make sure that you take care of them, and then have that aura about it with where, hey, there's realism behind this. But also more importantly is that I'm gonna make damn well sure that I'm gonna put you in a good place, and I'm gonna take care of you.
What is the camaraderie like? I mean, especially I would think like with the indies, like with that is it a one big family? Is it, you know, or rather than me guessing, why don't you tell me, as far as that, or, you know what I mean?
Um,
Or the community, maybe that's a better way to put it.
I definitely think that there's a brotherhood and sisterhood. I mean, let's face it, with what we do is unique.
Mhm.
It's There's a bond. I mean, um, not everybody can do with what we do, and so I think there is that professional camaraderie. As competitive as our businesses is, it's still a business, but there's still a place with where I'm your brother's keeper and looking after you and making sure that you know we're all in a good spot. So there's something to be said to that. I mean, if you look at um, the old timers, I mean, they're that brotherhood, Cauliflower Alley Club, and um, it's I mean it is what it is.
Which again is good. That sounds like in the beginning. I know when we were talking like, hey, what's it take to be, you know, or to come in and be successful? It sounded like obviously work ethic, but it sounds like characters in there too.
Yeah. Um, our characters, if you think about it, depending on with what you're trying to put out there, is who we are. It's us turned up a little bit. I might be at a 5, and then when it's time for me to hit that switch, it goes to a 10. Whether I'm a baby face or a heel, um, it's and people being able to see that, and not only see it but feel it, and being able
Mhm.
to make that emotional connection with where they're behind you, and they want to come back and see you again, and there's something unique about you that they find to be fascinating with where they relate. um, so yeah, and And I don't talk a lot about character stuff in the beginning because it's more so pouring that foundation, and then maybe when we're 5, 6, 7 months in, it's that starts to take a life of its own with where we start asking those questions. What and I was asking them the other night. Well, who are you? I mean, do you have identity with who you are as a person, and what do people see when you walk into a room? Is there something about you? Do you have that it factor? Do people pay attention to you? Is there a way that you carry yourself that with where, geez, that person's interesting with where they want to watch you? So um, all of that stuff comes into play, and then your self confidence. Do you have that aura about you with where there's something as you come out of that curtain and are on that ramp and walking your way to the ring, whether you're a baby face or a heel, whether they want to get behind you or they can't stand you because you're just smug.
So that's got to be part of one of those things that translates
Yeah.
into real life. I mean, obviously, you don't want to go on an interview with like you're acting like Randy the Macho Man per se,
No.
but at least that idea of the presenting who you are.
Yeah. Funny story. We were doing a promo class the other day up at Elite. And I had said to my students, I says, well, there's three of me. And they look at me, what do you mean there's three of you? Well, there's me, the wrestling coach. There's me in my professional job. And, there's me, the dad. And sometimes my kids say to me, Dad, we're not one of the students. And so it's those different characters and interjecting them at certain times.
I can relate to that, having a martial arts studio at one point and having my kids there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was watching a clip, and it was WrestleMania in Boston.
Oh, yeah. Good old WrestleMania.
So I'm watching this, and I've seen that before, of course, but I'm going in. There's somebody who looks really familiar.
Yeah. Go figure, huh? Yeah. I seen that guy.
I got to hear that. I got to hear this story from you.
So WrestleMania was in Boston and at the Fleet Center, and the phone rang the night before. And I happened to become friends with a gentleman by the name of Pat Patterson, who worked for WWF, WWE for many years. And so he rang and said, I need 5 referees and I need an office person for a piece in WrestleMania tomorrow. Can you find me these people? And let's keep it under wraps. And at 2 o'clock, show up at the Fleet Center. We'll meet you. We'll take you upstairs, and we'll run through the whole piece with what we're going to do. And so next thing you know, we're in WrestleMania. I'm in the ring with Rock and Ken Shamrock with 5 of my students from Kowalski's, and we're all getting tossed around. And so that was pretty cool. And the funny story there was, 25 years later, I'm up at Elite, and there's a gentleman up there that does mocap, and Ken Shamrock happened to come in to do the mocap motion picture stuff, and Ken didn't know I was coming, and I got word that he was going to be there, so I had shown up, and I walk in, and he's there, and he kind of looks at me, and I kind of look at him, and I said, do you remember? And he says, you age well. He says, I know who you are. I says, yeah, you're the one that gave me that big suplex in WrestleMania. So I guess, you never know with where you're going to come across paths with people again in the business. So it was good. It was a funny story. Good story.
That is great. Especially Ken Shamrock. Like, hello.
Yeah. I mean, think about 25 years later, I haven't seen him. And next thing you know, he and I are in the ring taking pitches, and that's the funny part about our business. It's full circle, and that's why it's so important to take care of your name and your reputation, because you never know who you're going to, come across again, and people vouching for you and say, he's a good guy or not a good guy. And so it was a good moment, nice moment.
Which is kind of the brotherhood.
Yeah. Yep.
And sisterhood.
Yeah. And, he, like you, he asked me the story, how this all came about, and talking to him, and, he thought that was interesting. So you just never know.
So I saw another clip too, if you don't mind me asking about this. Let's checking out. Steve Blackman.
Oh yeah, I got I got my fanny whipped.
He didn't look. Yeah, he.
I'm still recovering. Still not right.
He's going. Thanks, Dean, for bringing that up.
Well, I've had worse. I mean, JBL was worse than Blackman, but it was one of those things with where I was, trying to get a job and going to TV and doing job match, extra work and trying to get noticed and trying to get over the hump and just going there and doing as I was told and trying to make them look like $1 million. They all took very good care of me, and again, and I think the funny part or the interesting thing for me was I remember the first time I was in the Fleet Center wrestling there, going back to when I was a little kid, 5 years old, and you're in the middle of the Fleet Center and you're looking up to get the Jumbotron there, and you get 18,000 people, and you say to yourself, "How the hell did I get here?" Who'd ever would have thought? So it's like anything. You put your mind to something. If you got love for something, it's just you don't know with where it's going to take you. And here it is, 30 years later, I'm still going strong, but in different aspects.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. What about overcoming the challenges or getting your head in the game? I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.